To kick things off, John started with the tabletop. Now this part requires details on both sides, so this will be done as a double-sided component. The first side here receives the inlay for the top face. This has been themed around an oriental design and has a unique flair with this bamboo layout. We use two cutters, an 1/8" cutter to pocket out a majority of the inlay, as well as a 30-degree V cutter to perform all the final details. Because this inlay is being applied to this face grain instead of end grain, we went with an epoxy inlay. Once complete, any fuzz or little details that need to be cleaned up were done using a fine chisel. And then this was filled in using black epoxy with the assistance of Blake Nelson, a local shop teacher who has been showcased in other Legacy demonstration videos. Once the epoxy had set, this was sanded down back to the table surface to give us this beautiful design. Now let's proceed on to side number 2, the underside of the tabletop. Two main details were added to this underside. We'll add an elegant long radius to the edges around the entire table perimeter, as well as the pocket joints to attach the tabletop to the support brackets so it looks like it's floating. First, a large section of material was removed using this 1/2" spiral cutter in preparation for that large radius along the perimeter edges. Next, a 1/2" core box cutter is used to perform a raster carving technique to add this graceful radius along the entire perimeter of the table surface. And last, another spiral cutter is used to cut the pocket mortises. Now let's pass you back over to John, who's going to explain the next components.
Let's go ahead and cut our skirts, give me these two pieces here, as well as our risers for our tabletop. Now remember, on our skirts, we're cutting both sides. We're going to cut the angles, flip them over, and then we're going to cut our pockets out for our risers to go in. This is going to make the entire tabletop looks like it's floating up above the rest of the table. With the table risers, I'm going to use Legacy's Low Pro clamps. Now these clamps are pretty phenomenal. They not only clamp inward, they also have a downward motion to them as well. And that downward motion is going to make sure that the wood is held down securely to the table. Now I'm using a T-track table on this versus a vacuum table because it's a lot smaller. These are my two backers, and these are my two clamps. We're going to start by putting the Low Pro clamp in. I'm going to slide these on the vertical pieces here. Now once they're up and out of the way, I'm going to take my backer blocks, and they're going to actually come in on the horizontal. And the reason we do them on the horizontal is because now I've got a hard stop for these to go against. So these are going to come down here. This will lock into place. And I'm going to go ahead and just snug up these right here. So as we snug these up, what you'll see is that I get a nice parallel to my y-axis cutting. So my y-axis is going to be right here, and because both my T-track table and my clamps were set up with the machine, I know it's perfectly parallel. Now I'll take my clamps, now these are just going to grab on the ends, and that's where I want them, and we'll first set this screw into place. This is the screw that's going to hold it onto the table. When that one's done on both of these, then we're going to go ahead and we'll set our clamp into place. So let's go ahead and get both of these ready to go. Okay, with both of those in place, we're going to then take this one, and now this is going to clamp down and in. So you'll see as I compress this, you'll see that gap slowly closes, and it's closing down at an angle. It's going down and inward to make sure that I get a good snug fit and hold my board down to my surface. Let's go find our offsets and make some cuts. Loosen up our Low Pro clamps, push our board this way, and watch them come free. Right, these boards are the two risers for the tabletop. These are going to fit into the tabletop you've seen previously. We're going to show you how that works right now. All right, we've already got the radiuses cut into it here, and on this arc here, we've got it sanded and cleaned up. Let's make sure she fits. I just love how accurate CNCs are. Check this out. Perfect fit, ready to go together. We've got the risers done, and they fit beautifully. Now we're gonna go ahead and make the table skirts. That's gonna be this piece here, and it's gonna mount about right there. This is a two-sided part. On side one, we're gonna make 2 pockets and 2 drill holes on either side. That's to receive screws that go through here. On the back side, we're gonna cut off the angle. We're gonna cut out a pocket. That pocket will make sure that these lock perfectly into place. Let's go into the machine and get cutting. All right, with the drilling done, we're gonna go ahead and flip this over. So let's go ahead, take this one out. Make sure that's nice and clean. Now what we're looking for is to come back down here, right to the same point where I've marked it before. It's gonna give us our same spot there. And let's go ahead and tighten it back up.
Let me explain a couple more details to this part. The skirt is not only a double-sided part, which receives pockets and joints, but the ends are cut at a specific angle to match the curvature shape of the actual legs. Once both ends are trimmed, we'll place this in the vertical workstation and actually drill the 4 holes for the brass pins that will tie the skirt to the table legs.
We have got our skirts sanded, machined, ready to go. We've got our table risers ready to go. We've got some clamps here to help hold it together. We've got some screws. We're gonna pilot hole and then screw them in. We have got our leftover piece of mahogany here with all of our plugs cut out. That's gonna go ahead and plug up these holes on the opposite side. A different wood just to be an accent piece and a part of the art for the piece. Let's go ahead, put some glue in here and go to work. And let's go ahead and put these pieces together. Now we want the top of the riser to be on the higher side of the grain. So that one goes right in here. And we're just gonna tap it into place. Beautiful. And the second, we're gonna do the exact same. Okay. Perfect. Now let's flip this over and put these in like this. And we'll just work on one side at a time. So here's this one here. Taps in beautifully. And that one sets the spacing for this guy, which also taps in beautifully. Take this entire assembly, put it in the clamps. Okay, let's go ahead and just do a quick square on it. So when I'm squaring something like this, I like to go corner to corner. So I'm gonna go inside here, it's 21 1/4. Inside here, 21 1/4. That's one of the best parts about CNC is if you get your joints in the right spot and everything square, pretty much everything ends up square. So I like to pilot all of my screws for 2 reasons. One is I make sure that I'm not going to strip them out. And secondly, just makes them go in a lot easier. Now with that in nice and tight and snug on the bottom, I have plenty of room for my plugs. Let's go ahead and do the other 6. All right, now that we've got this all screwed together, we're gonna go ahead and do our plugs. So these plugs are a bit longer than they need to be, and I did that on purpose. I'm just going to go ahead and just break them all out. Just do this using a screwdriver. You can take it and use your bandsaw and knock them off, or your table saw, but table saw, they tend to fly. So I like to just use my screwdriver. Okay, when you pop them out, you're gonna have a nice square edge and then the broken off edge. That's plenty because there's plenty of room there, so we're just gonna go ahead, drop a little dab of glue down there, and it doesn't need to be much. Literally a drop will do. Now obviously you're not getting to your screws anymore. That's kind of the point, so I'm not gonna worry about that very much. Perfect. All right, with those all done, we're gonna go ahead and just let this dry for a little bit, and we will come back to cleaning those off. All right, we've got our tabletop and we've got our skirt and risers. They're ready to be put together. So let's go ahead and take our tabletop here first. We're just gonna lay it down. Okay, so here she is there. We're gonna take this guy, and it should fit in right here. Just like that. So let's go ahead and put some glue on it. We're gonna hold it down and let it dry. We finished by gluing up these two pieces. It's nice and dry now, solid. We're ready to make the legs. So now we're gonna go ahead and go on to the maple pieces. We're gonna start that by marking our centers on both sides. So we'll take our piece of maple here, use my handy dandy edge finder or center finder, and let's just mark this up. This is gonna help me get perfect centers on all of these. Now each leg is actually 1/8 of an inch bigger than it needs to be, so they're 3 1/8 instead of 3 inches. That's just so if I don't get it perfectly on center, then my part still turns out. And I found that to be just a really good practice. You notice over here in my prototype as well, that I've got a 3/4 inches over here and 3/4 inches down here as well. Just a little bit longer. Again, same reason. I want to be able to make sure that my cutter is away from where my screws would be or anything else. All right, now these screws are 1 inch long screws. They're going to be into the wood 5/8 of an inch with a 3/8 inch piece of this 4-jaw chuck adapter here on the end of it. Now I went with 4 and I went with screws this short, again for the same reason. I didn't want my cutter to get anywhere close to where these are going to be. So now on the opposite side, all we're going to mark is just my center point, so my tailstock has a place to engage.
I'm going to once again add a couple more details regarding this table leg. As you can see, we programmed to machine these drilling sections along the ends and edges of the parts. What we found when we were prototyping this is if we didn't actually add those drilling spots on the ends, when the cutter came to the very end of the leg when finishing the final cut, it entered a corner section, which meant that it had a lot of surface making contact with the material. This caused a lot of vibration and problems. By removing those corner sections with that drilling process to begin with, we no longer ran into that issue. Another thing we learned is that using this type of cut where we're in contact with the entire face of the material along the edge is the climb milling direction versus undercutting direction is absolutely critical. You can see that every single cut is actually in contact with the material during a climb cut procedure. This minimized vibration and gave us a clean cut. We also experimented with the step over. We first started with a 1/4 inch step over and found it was too much, and so we dialed it down to where we found a good sweet spot for this material, and that is an 1/8 inch step over, but the final cut is only taking a 1/16 of an inch to again reduce vibration and give us the cleanest finish. Before rotating 90 degrees to cut the other two faces of this table leg, we swapped over to a 1/4 inch drill bit which drills out the same hole pattern that lines up with that side skirt that we did earlier. Now the part can be indexed 90 degrees, and we can repeat the exact same cutting techniques. The last detail for these table legs is adding these round pocket mortises for the bottom shelf to connect to. Again, let me pass you over to John, who's going to go into more details on other parts.
Well, not using the dust control so you can see it obviously leaves me quite a mess. But let's go ahead and get this thing off and take a look at it. All right, our complete leg takes about 14 minutes to machine. We have our holes up here. These are going to match to the skirt, and this one over here, which is going to carry across for our lower shelf. We've got all of our parts cut. We've got our legs. We've got our tabletop here. Back behind me, we have the lower shelf, and we've got the spacers cut. You're going to see how these come into place when using our small brass spacers. We've got our dowels here. Now, this is more than a one-man job, so I've asked Andy, the owner of Legacy Woodworking Machinery, and Dave Berkebile, a good friend and customer of Legacy Woodworking Machinery, to help me out on this assembly. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing built.
A big shout out and thank you to Scott Billings for helping us finish this table. Scott is another high school teacher here in our local community of Utah. We tend to work with these shop teachers often and love seeing the results of what the kids are producing with their legacy CNC machines.
Thank you guys for following along as we built this floating top end table. The precision, speed, and accuracy of CNC made this kind of project possible for me. Aspire's software made it so that I could design and draw every component in this table. Now, using the Maverick CNC and Conversational Cam Pro, I was able to build these legs using Aspire's software and a bit of rotational help from our software. Drop me a comment below if you have any questions about this project or any of the other videos that I've done on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon.